Hey, it's Jason from Fraser Valley Rose Farm, and I'm not in my own garden today. A friend of mine gave me permission to have a look around a garden that he's developing right now. I found it interesting, and so I wanted to show it off to you today. Well, the rest of this garden is a fair bit more formal. I wanted to show you off the moss garden. And if you swing around this way to an opening in a wall of forest, you can see wisteria gateway up there. You can see this area here, and I love these kinds of natural gardens. And he's cleared up some of the debris in this area and is starting to try to establish some moss and ferns and make it look very, very natural. And down here to show you, this is a feature that he's put together. It kind of looks like a fire pit or something, but the way he's put it together, he's starting to stuff it with natural moss from around the area so that it could be covered with moss. And instead of a fire in the middle, he'll have a fern, although he may replace that with an ostrich fern or something a little bit taller. But that's sort of the focal point of this new garden. But what I love about this area, and I'm just going to swing to the right here without trying to make you too dizzy, is if you actually peek over this way, there's a little stream way down below there, kind of our natural woodland plants, fallen logs, ferns, and again on this fallen log he's starting to seed that with ferns from around with moss from around the area. Now, one interesting topic is that I know people have this method that's been mentioned, I've seen it in many garden books, where you make a moss milkshake. So you take all this moss, you throw it in, you paint a surface with buttermilk, or you take this and put it into a blender with buttermilk, and then you pour it all over everything. And although I'm ready to be wrong, I'm ready to hear from people who have had success with that method, everything I've heard from people who really are into moss is that that's nonsense, and that you're far better trying to get pieces of moss that you could harvest in one place and then just transplant into another, like my friend has done here, onto these old pieces of fallen wood. I think this tree almost certainly came from that stump over there. And I'll show you one more garden feature here. With all the rocks and the downpipe, the bucket, and once again, he's been harvesting some moss. Now, I know that this will be far more impressive once all this comes in, and yes, I probably could have waited. Oh, that's probably a maidenhair fern that he's starting to establish on the slope there. But I actually find gardens in development to be a little bit more interesting, actually, because it shows what people are thinking as they put this together. And to clear up kind of an overgrown space here, you can see it was covered in a ton of ivy. But to have cleared that out, to have made the area defined, and then to start to seed it with moss, that part is interesting to me. I just want to show you, while I can peek over here into the woods, because it does continue on some ways, another area that he has his eye on just for cleanup and to add moss is this rocky stream. And there's no water coming down it now, but in spring that starts to fill up with water and then feed that creek that I showed you down below on the slope. Now, as mentioned, this piece here becomes part of a more formal garden, but obviously an informal part of a more formal garden that I will maybe take some shots of and include here. But I love the wisteria arch that leads to the rest of the garden. And to me, once this fills in with all these different kinds of moss, this area, this centerpiece here, and the log and the rocks in the distance, This is going to make a heck of a beautiful garden, and I want to thank him for letting me show it off to my viewers. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop those into the comments below, and thanks so much for watching.